recording this session. So if there's something that you need to go back and reference, and for those that couldn't attend, we will be, I'm just admitting a few more people. We will be recording, so the content will not be lost. Very excited to have Marquis with us today. Thank you, Marquis, for joining us and taking us through this session. For everyone on the line, you'll notice as you come in that I've muted you and turned your video off. So there is a chat icon at the bottom of the screen that you can pull up. If you have a question as Marquis is talking, you can chat, type it in there, or at the end of the session, we'll leave some time for questions. I'm just admitting a few more people, Marquis.
Sure.
So I'm going to actually turn the hosting capability over to you, and then I'll let you start and share your screen.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right, there we are. Can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see my screen? We're okay?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So welcome, everyone. Today we're going to be going through what we're calling creating and integrating, a marketing strategy that sells. And so I'm going to jump right in to everything. And what we'll be covering today are 4 main points. The first is creating your new marketing plan or marketing strategy, pivoting your business to sell in this current, business environment. Things have changed, but I want to point out that a lot of the principles I am going to be talking about today haven't really changed all that much. They are steadfast principles and methods that have worked for a long time, but what we are going to be talking about is how to adapt to this new post-COVID, hopefully soon, world that we're all living in. Next, we're going to be talking about how to reach your target market through an integrated marketing and communication strategy. So where to find your people, how to market to them, how to communicate with them, and what are those things that are actually important to them. And then the last thing is going to be using your Shopify store or your online store to sell through social media. And so what my promise to you today is that you'll walk away with, tools and strategies needed to market and grow your business in this new unfamiliar world, and that you'll leave with the knowledge needed to research, define your audience, know what their wants and needs are, know what your message is, and then know what your marketing strategy looks like as well. So just some quick house rules, some housekeeping stuff. Would love for you to ask questions in the chat. Erica and Lauren are both here to facilitate those questions. If they cannot answer them, then they'll just prompt me, and then we'll just do our best to answer them as we go along. Also, I love when these things are interactive as well. And so if you do have any questions, ask them. I will be asking questions to you. Love for you to respond to those questions as well. And you'll think about how you're going to apply these methods in your own business, right? Some of them may apply depending on your situation, if you're selling a product or a service. And so think about how they'll apply in your business, either now as you're reopening your doors, and what that will look like. And the last thing is, if you do have any technical issues, again, just send a message in the chat. So my name is Marquis. I am the co-founder and president at Ditto. We are a systems and optimization agency, focused on creating order through systems and processes for business owners. And so when it comes to systems and processes, we obviously deal with templates for repeatable work, project management systems, standard operating procedures, but also the structure and processes you need both in your sales and your marketing systems, so that you as the owner, manager, whatever it may be, can reduce their workload and focus on the things that really matter in the business. And so I've worked with companies like Walmart, Home Depot, Carter's, over my close to 15 years in the industry, and have helped companies to come up with both their marketing strategies, their communications, what their content looks like through different campaigns, whether it be paid ads, influencer marketing, whatever those channels happen to look like. And really for me, you know, as a marketer, one of my passions is really staying current with what's happening in the world of digital media. And if the last few months have been any indication as to, you know, the unpredictability of this world, it's the same thing when it comes to digital marketing. Things are always changing, and we have to make sure that we're keeping up with those things. And so not pictured here is, you know, my family. I have 2 twin boys, and my wife. We live here in Coburg, and you know, one of the things we love doing as a family is hanging out at the beach and the park, which hasn't been easy to do or even possible to do over the last few months. So we're hoping that things do change in the next several weeks so that we can get back to enjoying this small beach town that we call home. So what I want to do quickly is just paint a picture for you, right? And so I'm going to assume you're on this call, you're a business owner, you either sell a physical product or you sell a service, right? And the number one thing you want to do is you want to make money, obviously, or else you would not be in business. And so you start by creating that product or purchasing that product or service. Then you get into designing the ad for that. You know, you take out said ad in, you know, radio, newspaper, social media, paid ads through Facebook, whatever that looks like. And you wait for people to respond and hope and cross your fingers that they'll actually like it and respond to it. Right? And so eventually what happens is you get them to come into your store, you know, visit your website. A lot of you are reopening your doors, right? You're getting them to come in for the first time. Maybe you've been in touch over the last few months and they're finally coming into the store to check you out and see what you have to offer, right? When they come in, you let them know about that 20% off sale, you know, that's on until the end of the month. Right? You get them on your mailing list. You send them more promotions. You know, maybe they follow you on social media. And you promote, you know, and you market other products to them that you think that they would like, right? That they click on a link and then maybe they come back and visit your website or your store. And then finally, they buy something, right? You take their payment information, you take their address, email, if you don't already have it, you let them know about the online survey that they can fill out, and then you bid them farewell, right? And then you do it all over again with the next person and the next person, forever and ever and ever. So what is the problem with all of this, right? Think about how much time and money has now gone into getting that one sale. All that effort, you know, at the end of the day has gone into it, and we say, thanks for your business, have a great day, right? So once the sale is complete, you know, we move on to finding the next customer in hopes that we can get more sales. And this again goes on and on, you know, forever and ever, or until the business stops being a business. And, you know, that usually happens, you know, due to, you know, competitors coming along and improving the experience, you know, of your customers, or your customers finding another product or another service elsewhere. And this revolving door happens, right? And this method, although it works, right, we still are able to sell. We know that it's costly, it's time consuming, and it's very uncertain or unpredictable. And so this is how many businesses, you know, today do sales. They start with this really linear approach. And so you start with the product, right? Then you think about your marketing. You distribute to, you know, your sales channels, whether it be social media, paid, print, whatever it is, right? And you hope to find the people who like it enough so that they open up their wallets. And so if you can see from this diagram, what we're really looking at is the fact that customers are an afterthought, right? They're the product of the owner's hard work and persistence. And if you've done all of these things really, really well, and gone through the steps I painted in that scenario, you end up with this. You end up with that sale or that customer, and we cheer, right? So we're gonna test out something here quickly. I said I love participation. I would love for anyone to type in the chat what this is. coming in, you can see it, funnel, funnel. That's right, it's a funnel. So maybe you've used this in your car, you've used it to pour the oil back after you've poured too much in to a container, whatever it is. But this traditional funnel doesn't account for a lot of, the factors that are needed in growing a business. And so basically we're looking at this linear model, right? Where this funnel doesn't reveal the momentum that we build through great product and great customer experience, or the drag or friction that you experience when your processes start to slow down or impede sales and growth. And so prior to COVID, we were doing things one way. And many of us missed opportunities to pivot or make our offer and our products better. But now we're going back to business as normal or as usual. We're opening up again. Things are a little bit different. And the fact of the matter is that there is nothing normal about the times that we're going into, right? We need to be adapting and changing our style and adapting new models for sales and growth and marketing now more than ever before. And so if we look at this here, this is really the traditional funnel. We apply force at the top, right, of the marketing funnel. We have our marketing, we have our promotions, we have our discounts, we have incentives, and we kind of put them all in at the top and hope that at the end we get that sale. And once we get that sale, right, or the customer in many cases, the process is complete. And the next time that we really engage with that person is when we want to sell them a new product. But all the momentum and all the effort and resources you've applied at the top of your funnel is now gone. So you want to think about it, right? What happens to customers in a funnel, in that linear model where they just go top down? They are really the outcome. Nothing more, nothing less. All of the energy you spent acquiring that customer is wasted. And it leaves you back at square one. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures. This is me on a boat, a kayak more specifically. Here are my kids, in the same kayak. Like I said, they're twins. This was a couple years ago. That's my brother-in-law in the back there, on the right. This was actually up when we were in Muskoka Lake a couple of years ago for a weekend. Kids were not here, thankfully. And so, you're probably thinking, what does this talk have to do with a kayak? And the answer is everything, right? Because like anything, like any product, my kayak didn't just show up one day, right? It started with some comparative shopping. And for me, what that really looked like is window shopping, right? So my window shopping included, research online, social media reviews and reading all of those things, going on Kijiji, watching different videos, comparing products, hearing what other people had to say. And ultimately, I went to 4 different stores before making my decision. The first was Sale in Oshawa. The second was Canadian Tire. The third was a store called Kirby Boards in Oshawa as well. They do snowboards and skis in the winter, and then in the summertime, it's more outdoor water sports. And then the last store that I went to, and I'm giving away the ending here, is Mountain Equipment Co-op, or MEC. And so what MEC did differently than all the other stores or all the other brands I visited prior to was that they had a blog, right, where they posted about best practices. They had videos on their products, reviews on how to care for your boat, videos on how to enter and exit your boat. And when I finally went to the store, I had the opportunity to try it in the store. And if you've ever been to an MEC store, I think the closest one to us is Toronto, but it's really like a casino. You don't know whether it's day or night, and you kind of get lost in this time warp. And so I spent a lot of time there soaking in all this information, trying things out. And so clearly I had no choice but to buy a kayak from them. And so with my kayak, it wasn't just the boat that I got with that. They gave me a really cool little membership card. It was green, had my name on the back that allowed me access to other perks, discounts on their website. They had their own classifieds version of Kijiji where there was like a gear swap with other MEC membership holders. They had different events that you could take part in, outdoor summits, meetups. They even put together a documentary series on the great outdoors, and I watched it from front to back. They had group adventure trips to remote locations, you name it. They had something there for the outdoor enthusiast. And so I got sucked into this world and just spent really a lot of time there consuming that content, right? And so this all led to MEC making a customer out of me over and over and over again. I ended up buying a compass, a sea kayaking book as well, because I thought that I was going to be trekking, across, the ocean at some point. And so I had to know everything there was to know about kayaking. I bought a little skirt so that I wouldn't get wet in my boat, a wetsuit, a watch, everything. And so what did MEC do right? What did Mountain Equipment Co-op do right? They followed a much more predictable process that focused on me, the individual, and what I needed to make that final decision. And so after subscribing to their mailing list, they would send communications, that would provide, more product demos online. They provided more insights specific to me on how to, again, care for my boat, things to consider when, I was in the water, best practices to prepare for a trip. And what they really did well is they positioned themselves as experts in this field and made my choice much easier. And so for MEC, the sale didn't stop there. And here's why, because not only did they make a believer out of me, while answering my questions and concerns, they also created a lifelong advocate for their brand. And so the amount of times that I've told different versions of this story, just because, how happy I was about my purchase and the experience, but I was also really pleased about the entire process and what they continue to do after the fact that keeps me a part of that community, that keeps me an advocate, that keeps me talking about their brand. And when they send me mailers in the mail or an email in my inbox, it's a great reminder that they're still there, they're still thinking about me, but it's an also greater reminder that it's probably been close to a year since I've taken my kayak on the water and I need to get back out there again, right? And so therein really lies the key difference between the traditional funnel and what has, come to be known as the flywheel. And so before we move on, funnels, just to recap, they produce customers, right? But they don't consider how those customers help your brand and company grow. Your business, or any business for that matter, is only as good as the customers that surround it to help it grow. And that's where the flywheel comes into play. So unlike the funnel, the flywheel is great at storing and releasing energy. And for this example, we want to think about it as it relates to our business or social media strategy. And so originally, the flywheel, if you're thinking car or train, it was invented by James Watt. And the flywheel is simply a wheel that's incredibly energy efficient. The energy that it stores depends on how fast it is, the amount of friction it encounters, and the size of it, right? So think of it like, again, the wheels on a train or a car, or how engines really work. This energy is especially helpful when thinking about how customers can help your business grow. And so with the flywheel, you can use momentum, the momentum of your happy customers to drive referrals, repeat sales, be your advocates to help you keep this machine, this flywheel spinning around and around, producing more and more customers, right? When you think about your business as a flywheel instead of a funnel, instead of a linear model where customers are the afterthought, you make different decisions and adjust your strategy. where customers are at the center of everything. So here's an example, right? So we already know that the amount of energy and momentum your flywheel contains depends on three things. One, right, how fast it is, right? So the speed of the flywheel increases when you add forces to it. And we're going to talk about those forces in a minute, right? Forces could be social media. They could be how responsive you are to customer inquiries through phone or email or an inbox message on Facebook, right? By focusing on how you can make customers successful, they're more likely to relay their success to other potential customers. Who's still thinking about that kayak? Or maybe you have a kayak and you're thinking you need to get on that kayak. Or maybe you've thought, I would like to buy a kayak one day, right? Where is the first place you're more than likely to go based on the story I just told, right? The second thing that is a factor in the efficiency of a flywheel is how much friction there is, right? So looking at how your team is structured, why are your customers not coming back, right? What are those things happening? Was it a bad experience? Was it a lack of inventory? Was it, your hours weren't posted properly? Were prospects getting stuck in the buyer's journey, right? Is your pricing straightforward? Is it cluttered or confusing? Are there fees or restrictions? And then the third is the size of it, right? The more you increase the speed and decrease the friction is the more you can create promoters for your business. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill, building speed, right? Every business is different, but the way that you design your flywheel depends on your specific business model and marketing strategy. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, just so we can understand a little bit more about what friction could look like. I happen to be gluten-free. I have allergies, and so I just can't consume it. And so I went to a restaurant one day, and they had on their sandwich board, gluten-free options. And so I went over to the gluten-free menu, and of course that was apparently the only day that they've ever been open there. They haven't had any gluten-free products in stock. And so I asked for, a salad that, I knew would be gluten-free, just a Caesar salad, but of course they had breadcrumbs and little bits all sprinkled in it. And so not only did they not have anything in stock, they, had an option that I thought would work for me, and that also didn't work. And I know this is a very, very basic, maybe insignificant example, but in this instance, right, this is what friction looks like, right? If I come to the store and it said that they opened up at 12 and it was 12:15, that's friction, right? Not being able to get the food that I came there to eat, that's friction, right? And again, I get it. It's a very, very simple example, but I just want you to think about what that looks like. And so friction is the force resisting the relative motion of solid surfaces, fluid layers and material elements sliding against each other, creating drag, right? Textbook. But think about that shirt at the store, and you found the perfect shirt, but they don't have your size, right? So they check other stores, and maybe there's one left in another store, and so you drive that 20 minutes to that other store to realize, no, they didn't actually have it in stock. It was sold 3 weeks ago, and it was an error in the system. Friction. You're going to another brand to get that shirt, right? You're in the drive-through, and you're late for a meeting, and they ask you to pull over because the fries aren't ready, or whatever it is, right? Friction. Again, really, really simple examples, right? You get your paycheck, you have your bills to pay, and just like that, it's all gone, right? The euphoria, has passed and really sets in. So that's friction in a completely different way, right? And so the list really goes on and on. And so these are just some examples of what friction can look like more specifically, right, in businesses. And I see this all of the time, right? The contact info, again, hours, pricing not being displayed on your website, or maybe they're hard to find. A question or comment on social media goes unanswered. You'd be surprised at how often that happens, right? You take 3 days to respond to a sales inquiry, and that individual has gone somewhere else. your social media posts, don't reflect, your product or the business, or they're irrelevant, on and on and on. Social media pages are not optimized, product information is vague or misleading, the buttons, forms, links are not working on your website, or maybe your website isn't even searchable, right? It doesn't show up in Google. Maybe the text is small, right? There are conflicting colors that are being used that make things hard to see. All real life examples of what friction can look like in your business. And if you don't take the steps to correct them and fix them, you're going to have a really hard time converting those customers, right? And so here we're going to talk about those forces, right? What are those things that we can be doing, on different channels to market? So we want to look at what applying force looks like. So we can put out email newsletters, right? Blogs, social media posts. Maybe you have a podcast that you're putting together. You created a content offer or a PDF download with some really great information. Maybe you've done some SEO on your website. There are promotions and discounts that you provide to your customers. Maybe you take customer testimonials and use those as selling tools, or ask customers for testimonials to make sure that they are happy with the service, right? You dabble in paid social advertising, and then maybe you try some video marketing as well. You do some stuff on YouTube or Instagram stories. What's great about all of these different sources, or these different forces, I should say, is they can be applied all across social media. And unlike the traditional funnel where it's top down, we take the flywheel approach where, again, at the center, you have your customer relations. You have your customers, your ideal clients, where you're doing three things, really. You are attracting, you're marketing with them, or to them, sorry. You're engaging with them, right? Asking them questions, answering their questions. And then once they become a customer, you continue to delight them, providing resources, providing examples, videos to further their experience. And with the flywheel approach, remember, it's spinning. So you're doing all of these things all at once for the entire duration of that customer journey. And it never stops. And the more force you apply to it, the faster it spins, the bigger you grow. So companies that choose to use the flywheel model, over the typical funnel have a huge advantage, because they aren't the only ones helping their business grow. Their customers are helping them grow as well. Conversations happen, today, especially in more places. They're happening among more people, than ever before. The funnel is really a good representation of how buyers used to learn about products, right? They found or were sent marketing materials. They had to speak to a salesperson to find out information, and then they became a customer. So, big question for today, before we get to the good stuff. How are you listening to your customers, or are you listening to your customers? And are you adapting your marketing to suit their ever-changing needs? That's the big question today. So we're going to talk about how to create that marketing strategy. And so for a lot of businesses, this is what it really looks like. You have a lot of people that, will essentially throw what we know is like spaghetti at the wall and hope that something sticks. You have all these ideas, all these methods that you've heard about, all these shortcuts really to get this ultimate goal, but we're taking, again, shortcuts to get there. And with so many potential avenues to venture down, this is often the wrong approach, especially in these times. You need to be more intentional about every decision you make when it comes to your marketing. So, are you listening to your customers, and are you adapting, right? We want to talk about the who in this case. So who are we trying to attract? So here's just an example of one of the pages that I pulled from one of the strategies we put together. And so this is where you really need to dig deep to find out exactly who you are selling to, what problem you help them solve, and why they need your specific solution. So what are their challenges, and what is your company coming in to do that can solve those challenges, right? Find out as much as you possibly can. And so here we've outlined what their background is, right? What their challenges are, what their demographic is, what their goals are as well, right? And this really all starts with creating what is called the ideal client avatar. This can happen by doing research into the market, right? To see, who you enjoy working with, or who most needs your product. And so the best way to do this is really to ask them, right? Ask your customers, do the research, get on the phone, talk to people, go to where they engage. Facebook is a great place to do that. Getting into the groups and hearing the problems of the people that you hope to sell to is a great way to do this research. And you want to know, what are their interests? Where do they spend their time online? And if any of your current clients fit into this ideal bracket, set up interviews with them. All the stuff that I just showed you, we know the background, we know the challenges, because we took from a large group the main things that were holding these customers back from achieving that goal. They had a problem, our client had a solution, and we just had to make sure that those two things were aligned, right? And so once you define what that ideal client avatar is, now going forward, you'll know the prospects or the companies that don't fit into that, because they don't, or they aren't in line with that avatar, or don't meet the requirements that you've outlined in this initial research stage. And so again, conduct market research. Which of your customers do you love working with? Ask yourself those questions. What makes them unique, and why do they buy from you? Think about Costco taste tests. Does everyone remember Costco going in? I know they're still open, but I haven't been there in a while. But think about the taste test. Every time you walk up, you would sample something, and you'd like sneak away and come back. Or for me, I'd pretend like I'm getting one for my wife, come back and get another one. But yes, they're there to serve us. They want us to buy the products they're promoting. But the companies are also paying big money in the form of market research, right? They're taking that feedback from their target audience and using that to both develop their product and enhance their marketing. Oh, there we go. All right, so number 2 is, what are we trying to accomplish? What is the purpose really of this marketing? Why are we using that social media channel? And what do we want that outcome to be, right? In other words, what are your goals, right? So what's really the point of all this? Are we trying to drive traffic to a sign-up form? Are we trying to conduct direct sales online? Do we want them to watch a video? Do you want them to visit your location? Really, you want to define what your goal is and write that down, okay? Without knowing where you're going, you're gonna miss the mark every time. So just the last point there, sorry. Knowing really the intent of your marketing and communicating with your team especially ensures that you're aligned in a way that you both use social to communicate with your customers, both online and in person. So it's important to have those things documented somewhere. Number 3 is, what is the purpose of that specific social channel, and how will you communicate that message? What will that look like? So it really goes back to the flywheel, right? There are so many options, and what a lot of people fall into is this trap where they feel like they need to be doing everything. They need to have a blog, they need to have a newsletter, they need to have social media, paid ads, podcasts, webinars, promotions, discounts. They need to be doing all of these things on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Snapchat, on TikTok, whatever it is. They feel like they need to be everywhere. And that is not always the case, because if you remember back to that key client avatar, we want to know who that person is, get really dialed in, and figure out where do they spend their time online. Are they on Facebook? Are they in the groups? Are they a younger demo? And maybe they are on TikTok or Snapchat, or in some cases, Instagram. Are you showing up through Instagram stories? Are you showing up there in a consistent manner, right? So think about the how, think about what makes sense for your business, and move forward with that. So will you produce, one new blog or podcast every week, right? Will you post a deal to Instagram stories each day, right? With that link in bio, right? Will you partner with other businesses, maybe local businesses, for a giveaway? I see this happening so often, and it's so great because you're taking the collective power and influence and reach of two separate brands, putting them together, and you're going after both your networks and including those people. So you can see a lot of growth happen, a lot of engagement happen through doing something like a giveaway. I wouldn't do one every week, spread them out, but that's a great way to boost engagement, awareness for your brand, and to grow your audience as well. Will you use Facebook ads to drive traffic? And if you've never dabbled in Facebook ads, they have a lot of great free resources that you can utilize to learn the platform, learn how to put together an ads campaign, and get it going, right? And the last is, are you simply trying to raise awareness for your company, right? Or your company's existence? Just like with the events of the last few months, we've been forced to kind of like look for other ways of doing things. And I found in our exploration, really out of boredom because we're stuck in the house, maybe we go for a drive, but I found 2 new restaurants that I didn't know existed in my local area, right? And we ordered from them, and it's a great way, one, to support your local business, but it's a great way for, as a business, if people don't know where you are, if traffic is slow, what are you doing to get in front of those people? And so what I want to point out as well is that the frequency of all this happening is not nearly as important as the fact that you need to be consistent in it. So if it's a blog or a podcast once a week or once every 2 weeks, you pick the frequency and hold yourself accountable to what that looks like. And the last point here, just number 4, is who else does what you do, right? Who are your competitors, right? That word competitor itself doesn't have to be seen in a negative light, right? Everyone is trying to figure out how to move forward, especially now, right? And so the more we can learn, the better. So who's out there doing what you do, and what can you take from them? So think about this. When was the last time you looked at the big box version of your business, right? What are they doing? If you're listening today and you have a small like outfitter store, outdoor store, sorry, maybe the MEC model makes sense because I talked about that, and you're thinking, how can I adapt that model to my storefront, right? So think about what that big box corporate version of your store looks like. What are they doing? What does their marketing look like? And how can you adapt to that? And just a quick tidbit that I didn't mark down here. If you're struggling with like Facebook ads that we just talked about, if you go to facebook.com/ads/library, you can put in any store, any personality, any company on Facebook, and you can see all their active ads that they are running. You can see what they look like, you see what the copy is. So if you're struggling, you don't know where to start, that's a great way, and Facebook makes that all open and available for you. Right, so what are the other brands doing that's working for them? And on the flip side, what are they doing that isn't working so well? And what can your business, adapt from these takeaways and apply to your own company, right? You can really take, the good with the ugly here, but it really will help you to know how you rank, against others in this space and where opportunities are to improve. I just want to make sure, I can't see the chat right now. I just want to make sure there aren't any questions. Maybe I'll pause for a second and see if there are any questions.
I don't see any at this point.
No problem.
So I think we're good.
Okay.
Unless anyone wants to either type one in or come off mute and ask a question. If it's time you would like to take questions.
I have more, but I know I've been going through a lot. So if you have anything, nope. All right, we'll keep on going then. So this is just an example of what some of that competitor research looks like. I mean, on the back end, when we go at it, we have a spreadsheet and there's a bunch of questions that we have to answer and we make comparative notes. But for you, this can be clicking over to a competitor's Instagram, see what their posts look like, what do their stories look like. Canva is a great tool if you're not a designer to how to create a lot of this stuff on your own. So just really look when you're looking at these competitors as to what types of posts perform the best, right? What gets most engagement and what kinds of users are engaging with what posts and how often, right? So we go back to that frequency question, right? Are you at the point where you can be posting 5, 6, 7 days a week? Maybe it's not realistic for you, right? You can work up to something like that, but take it slow, work up to it, start with 2 or 3 times a week, and then you can go from there, right? These are just some screenshots from LinkedIn, from strategy we put together for a client. So, you know, what is the tone and the subject matter of those posts or ads look like? You know, what times are they posting? When it seems to be getting the most engagement? Those are questions that you can ask yourself and then go and do the research to really find out for yourself how best to apply these practices. And so what's next, right? We have these 4 pillars. There is the who, the how, the what, and what I call the who else, right? Your competitors, right? So what do you do with this? You just need to implement it. You implement, you monitor, and then you revise, right? The strategy is living, it is a breathing member of your team. And the truth of the matter is that you don't know until you try. And so based on, you know, our research and, you know, creative thinking, these are, you know, some of our best recommendations for our clients on really how to move the needle in their business. And right, you should know this. The strategy should, you know, be clear. The strategy should change over time as your business grows. And, you know, when your positioning becomes clearer and your purpose is realized by everyone on the team, your strategy will eventually evolve. Like, this is all normal. Don't feel like if you've created this strategy, you've done all this research, that's it. We talked about off the top that the digital landscape is changing all the time. And so you'll want to make sure you have a pulse on that. So just the last segment here is really selling through social media. And so this really pertains to the folks that have an online store. If you have a WordPress website, maybe you're using something like WooCommerce or EasyCart. If you're on Squarespace or the most popular option for e-commerce, Shopify, they make this really, really easy to get set up. And really what we're going to talk about is just some quick tidbits on how to leverage that online platform, bring it to social media, just to lower the barrier of entry for a lot of your customers that will be coming through. Just a quick story. We were maybe 2 weeks into lockdown, and someone that I know has a store, and they were working on converting everything over to online. And I asked them how it was going, and you know, even offered some help. And they said, no, our company's taking care of it. We're doing POS, we're doing that, we're cataloging everything. And another 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed, 4 weeks passed. I checked in again and realized that they had just defaulted to using Facebook, and you would go in and you would see the image that you want. You'd send them a message, ask if it's in stock, wait 3 days to get a response. learn that it's not in stock, or maybe it is, then you'd have to send them an email, money transfer, and then they would come and deliver it to you however many days later, right? Friction, right? How many people have the patience to go through that process? If they had gone through the proper channels in week 1 or week 2 of the lockdown, set up a store, even with your 10 best-selling products, right? Whatever those were, that would have been better than waiting weeks and weeks and weeks and missing those opportunities for sales, right? So what we really want to do is make that road to conversion, or sales in this case, smooth and well lit for our potential customers. So in another webinar a few weeks back, I talked about how to set up a Shopify store. The recording is on the Northumberland CFDC website, so you can watch it later on, just like this one will be. But if you do have a Shopify store, these next few examples are going to be really helpful for you. And if you haven't created one, or created a way for your customers to view and or purchase your products online, then you need to watch, that webinar and take the 30 minutes that it will take to set up your online store. And so from the Shopify dashboard, you can create what are called catalogs in the back end. And these catalogs will connect to your Facebook ad account. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second here. And the goal is really to, make the experience shoppable, right? Having that good customer service and social media experience can make the difference and enable your customers to see your products and get the most up-to-date inventory numbers, shipping dates, and delivery dates as well. And so this is what it would look like on Facebook. Once you've made that connection on your Shopify store, again, go watch that webinar if you have no idea what I'm talking about. But connecting your Shopify to your Facebook backend is super simple, and you can set up carousels on Facebook through posts. You can create image posts, and you can tag those images wherein the person will be able to click on the image right away and go to that destination. And in the case of the carousel, they can actually scroll through a series of products in that catalog and find the one that works best for them or that they're most interested in, and take them directly to that product page. On Instagram, it really works the same way. You can create a tappable, shoppable experience. You can now do this in Instagram stories, but on the feed, you can have your image, you can tag that product to, again, lower those barriers of entry for your customers, make the journey really smooth, right? Give them options, give them information, right? To be able to make those educated decisions on their own. And so we're coming to our time here. I do want to open it up for questions if there are any, but I promise that you walk away with tools and strategies needed to market and grow your business in this new unfamiliar world. I hope that we've done a little bit of that. There's still a lot to learn, of course, and a lot to do, but I hope I've given you some actionable steps that you can take today, right? And I also promise that you leave with some knowledge, are needed to research and define your audience, their wants, needs, messaging, and marketing strategy. So I hope that you've taken some of that away today. And so my question that I'll really leave you with today is, what do you want your business to look like tomorrow and into the future? On another version of this presentation, I had, what do you want your business to look like post-COVID? And the fact is that we don't know when that's going to be. And so we need to figure out how to market, how to be good listeners of our customers and potential customers so we can create advocates. So will you be creating your new marketing plan today? Right? Do you feel you have enough? Do you know who your customer is? Are they well-defined? Do you know what messaging really sticks out to them? Do you know what their challenges are when it comes to your product or your service? What work do you need to do, right, to pivot your business to sell in this current business environment? Have you been taking your time? Have you been, saying, I need to get my store online? Have you done it yet? Do you need to jump into social media? Is it intimidating? Are you concerned because you can't keep up and you're too busy? Again, it doesn't have to be every single day. Whatever that frequency looks like is totally up to you, provided that you are consistent with that because the algorithms really care about that. The third point here is, are you reaching your target market with an integrated marketing communication strategy? When they send a message in your DM, are you leaving it read and not responding? Are you responding to sales inquiries within an acceptable amount of time, right? Same day or 24 hours? Are you sending emails to them with promotions? Are you putting those things on social media? When they ask questions, if there are any frequently asked questions, are you taking those questions, those concerns, and making a frequently asked questions page on your website? Are you creating blog content that you can be that you can send ahead of time, to answer those concerns or questions, right? And the last one is, are you using an online store to sell on social media? I can't remember the numbers. I wish I had brought them for today, but the amount of, the usage numbers of social media obviously have skyrocketed in the last few months. People are all home. Unfortunately, a lot of us are without work, and so we're spending more time on social. Online orders have gone up, and stores like Amazon have made certain things priority and made other things essential, and so people are on their phones now more than ever. Are you giving them the opportunity? Are you giving them the resources? Are you there to answer those questions as well to make further advocates for your business? So I want you to be thinking about those things and what you're gonna do today to make that change or pivot if you need to. And now I will open it up to any questions. Maybe if there's one or two. I know we have about 5 minutes here. Maybe I'll wait 10 seconds.
So if you want to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself, or you could type it in. For those on the line.
I just did an amazing job of explaining all of that, and everyone is crystal clear.
I think so. Honestly, Marquis, this is a very relevant topic, and it can be very overwhelming. And I think you've done a fantastic job of, breaking it down and going through the key elements. It's very informative. Oh, Robert, where should someone start to make a marketing strategy? It all seems like a lot of stuff. So where do we start?
Yeah, Robert, like in your case, because I know your business a little bit, right? We know that we want to go after the who. We want to know the problem that we're solving for them. We want to know how we're communicating it. But in the example that I gave with the Shopify stores or the brick and mortar stores that are switching to an online platform, you don't have to go after everything. Take your top 10 best-selling products. So if you're in the service industry, it's what is your best-selling service or easiest to set up, offer? What is the solution that you can offer in a really well-defined, easily repeatable, right? Because we're still talking about systems, how to make things easily repeatable package. And so for you, because I know your business a little bit, is that a website audit that you can run and do checks on SEO and on page SEO, things like that. Can you do something like that for a customer or a potential customer and score that for them, right? So think about your offering, what it is that you can do that is easy, simple, repeatable. Start with that, and then also listen at the same time. Do you have previous customers or clients that have had that similar issue? How have you executed it? What have been the sticking points for them to either say, yes, I need that, or no, thanks, I'm not interested, right? Listen to them, ask those questions, and then really move forward with what communicating that one thing or marketing that one thing looks like. Hope I answered that question okay.
Thank you. That was good.
Great. Anyone,
right.
Anyone else have anything last to add or ask?
If you don't, totally cool. So I always like to leave this up here. Love to get in touch with you. You can check out our website at thinkditto.com. If you do want to get in touch, it's just thinkditto.com/Marquis. You can book a time in my calendar, I always love to offer just some time. If you want to chat for 15 minutes, ask a question after the fact, I'm more than open to taking that time just to connect with you and answer your questions. No strings attached. So that's there. Thank you so much, Erica.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marquis. We really appreciate you. You went through a lot of content in 60 minutes, so we appreciate you doing that. For those on the line as well, we have recorded the session. So I would say in the next 2 days, it will be posted on the Venture13 resource library. So if you want to go back through or hone in on a point that you might have missed, that recording will be there for you to view and for others as well, because, you know, this is a great resource, a great tool, a lot of fantastic information you provided today, Marquis. And on behalf of Northumberland CFDC and Venture13, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and putting on this session for us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Okay, so everyone, our second session happens tomorrow. The Eventbrite information's on our website. I'll be sending that out as well. So hopefully you can join us for our next session tomorrow, actually with Robert, who's on the line. And then we have one July 14th and with Kat out of Peterborough on social media. And then also Marquis is going to be putting on our fourth session, which will happen July 24th.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Everyone, have a great day. And we'll see you later.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.